The people who rush home fastest are often the slowest to walk inside. You pull into the driveway, the engine cuts, the porch light is on, the TV is already flickering through the front window. Maybe the dog starts barking because it heard the car. Maybe someone inside hears the door slam outside and calls your name before you have even opened yours. But you do not move. Your hands stay on the wheel. Your eyes stay forward. The house is right there, and still you sit in complete silence for 10, 15, sometimes 20 minutes before going in. From the outside, it looks secretive, strange, like you are avoiding your own life. Like something about that house makes you not want to enter it. But that is not what is happening. You are not always avoiding home. You are trying to come down before home starts asking for you too. That is the part people keep getting wrong. They think the problem is your family, your partner, your responsibilities, your mood. They assume you must be unhappy in that house if you keep sitting outside it in the dark. But often the real problem is much simpler and much more physical than that. By the time you park, your body is still carrying the day at full volume. The traffic, the conversations, the notifications, the fluorescent lights, the constant adjusting. The version of yourself that had to keep answering, responding, deciding, smiling, managing. And if you walk through the front door too fast, all of that walks in with you. So you wait. You sit in the cooling silence of the car. You look at nothing. You unlock your phone and do not really read it. You take one breath that finally feels like yours. You let the world stop touching you for a minute before the next part of the day begins. And sometimes those 20 minutes in the driveway feel more necessary than dinner, conversation, or even sleep. Because the car is doing something the rest of the day would not let you do. It is giving you a narrow space between one role and the next. Not work, not home, not public, not fully private. No one is asking questions there. No one is reading your face. No one is handing you a problem before your nervous system has even landed. It is not just a place to sit. It is a transition zone, a buffer between the outside world and the private world that still needs something from you. That is why the silence feels so specific. It is not empty, it is medicinal. And if this is you, then you know the transition is the whole point. The hard part is not driving home. The hard part is what happens 3 seconds after the front door opens. The dog is at your legs. The TV is too loud. Shoes are in the hallway. A bag is on the chair. Someone calls from the kitchen. "You're home?"
Are you home?
Another voice asks
How
a
was your
question
day?
before you have put your keys down. Even in a good house, even with good people, home is still contact. Home is still sound. Home is still immediate access. That is the conflict people do not understand. You can want to be home and still need a pause before entering it. You can love the people inside and still not be ready to be reached by them. You can be grateful for your home and still need 10 quiet minutes before your body can return to relationship. That is not coldness, that is overload. And what makes this pattern so confusing is that it looks wrong in such an ordinary way. Sitting in the driveway does not look like recovery. It looks like hesitation, like distance, like avoidance. People do not see what your system is trying to do in those quiet minutes. They do not feel the difference between stepping inside too soon and stepping inside after you have had one small moment to reset. They do not know how much easier it is to answer one simple question when your body is no longer braced against the whole day. Because when you are already full, even normal contact can feel like pressure. How was your day? Can you come look at this? Did you remember to call them? What do you want to eat? Before I forget? These are not attacks. They are ordinary parts of living with people. But when you are still carrying the outside world, ordinary contact does not land as ordinary. It lands as one more thing, one more voice, one more response you have to generate before you have even re-entered yourself. That is why the car matters so much. It is one of the last places where nobody can reach you for a minute. And usually this pattern did not begin with the driveway. The driveway is just where it becomes visible, because people who sit in the car before going inside are often not people who feel too little. They are often people who have been accessible for too long. The reliable one, the calm one, the useful one, the person who kept the tone steady, the person who stayed polite when tired, stayed responsive when drained, stayed composed when overstimulated. The person who learned to keep functioning without showing how crowded their system already was. So by the time they get home, the outside world is technically over, but their body is still acting like it is on duty. That is why the pause is not laziness. It is decompression. Not in a dramatic way. In a very plain, human way. Your heart rate has not fully dropped. Your jaw is still tight. Your attention is still split. Your face is still halfway in work mode, traffic mode, survival mode, social mode. And walking through the front door before any of that settles can make you feel instantly short, instantly irritable, instantly touched by too much. So the silence in the car is not random. It is preventative. It is the difference between walking in sharp and walking in softened. Between answering kindly and snapping without meaning to. Between being present and only looking present. That is why some people sit there with the radio off and do nothing. That is why some replay the same song twice. That is why some close their eyes for 1 minute and do not move for 10. They are not wasting time. They are trying to lower the volume of the day before it spills into the evening. And for some people, that need for a buffer goes even deeper. Not because this is suddenly about childhood in some abstract therapy way. Just because somewhere along the way, being overwhelmed was treated like something you had to get over quickly. You were expected to come in fine, speak normally, be pleasant, be available, transition cleanly, no lag, no visible decompression. So now your body creates the lag on its own, in the car, in private, in the only place where no one can rush your return. That is the layer underneath the habit. You are not just delaying entry. You are building a small zone where you do not have to perform the switch instantly. And that is where the pattern reaches its deepest point. It is not really about the driveway. It is about access. How long you can be accessed before your system starts shutting doors. How much contact you can carry in one day. How continuously people can need your attention, your face, your emotional regulation, your responses, before something in you starts pulling back just to stay intact. You do not sit in the car because you hate being home. You sit there because the day is still inside you. You sit there because walking through the door too soon feels like one more demand before you have put the last 10 down. You sit there because you need one small space where no one can reach you yet. You sit there because your nervous system is trying to save what is left of you before the evening begins. That is what is really happening. Not secrecy, not ingratitude, not a hidden hatred of your home life. A threshold. A moment where your body is trying to become bearable to itself again before it has to belong to anyone else for the rest of the night. And yes, that threshold protects something real. It helps you arrive with less edge in your voice, less resentment in your body, less fatigue leaking into every answer. It may be the reason you can walk in and still be decent to people, but it can also become so automatic that no one close to you ever learns what those 20 minutes are actually for. They only learn that you sit outside. They only learn that you disappear before you enter. They keep guessing at motives while your real need stays invisible. That is where the line matters. A boundary says, I need a transition before I can be present. A wall says, I can only feel safe if I stay unreachable. Recovery helps you return. Avoidance helps you postpone. Being alone gives your system room. Being lonely is what happens when room turns into retreat every single time. So no, sitting in the car before going inside is not always a sign that something is wrong with your home. Sometimes it is a sign that the outside world stayed on you longer than people realize. That is understandable. But it is not automatically healthy just because it makes sense. If the only way you know how to decompress is to vanish into silence without ever naming the need, then the people closest to you will keep calling it distance when it is really transition. Sometimes the person sitting in the driveway long after the engine is off is not avoiding the people inside. They are trying not to bring the whole day through the front door.